Would you spend 7 nights in a stranger's house to inherit it? He said yes. He thought the worst thing inside would be dust. It was a necklace that already knew his new name.
Meet Ethan, 24 years old and already running on empty. Every morning, the same grey office. Every night, the same glowing spreadsheet, long after everyone else went home. He wasn't unhappy, exactly. Unhappiness takes energy. He was just switched off, a man living a life that fit him like someone else's coat. And when people asked how he was doing, he always gave the same answer. Fine, he'd said it so many times, he'd almost forgotten it was a lie. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Real paper, wax seal, a lawyer's careful handwriting. Regarding the estate of Margaret Hart, Ethan read the name 3 times. He had no Aunt Margaret, no family on the coast. And yet, according to this letter, a woman he'd never met had left him a house by the sea on one strange condition. He had to live in it for 7 nights before he could sell it. 7 nights. What could possibly happen in 7 nights? The house stood alone on the cliff, tall and faded, its blue paint peeling like old memories. A white porch, a round tower room, and beyond it the sea, breathing slow and silver in the dusk. Ethan stepped out of the taxi, already doing the math. Location, land, renovation costs. Sell it, pay off the loans, escape the cubicle for a year, maybe 2. That was the plan. Simple, clean. But houses like this one, they have plans of their own. Inside, the furniture slept under white sheets and dust floated in the last light like snow that refused to land. Ethan flicked a light switch. Nothing perfect, but then on the hallway table something that didn't fit. A small velvet box, deep midnight blue, without a speck of dust on it. Waiting on its lid a little handwritten tag, for Elena. Ethan frowned. The lawyer said Margaret lived alone for 50 years. So who on earth was Elena? He shouldn't have opened it. He knew that even as his fingers lifted the lid, inside, resting on silk, lay a pearl necklace, old, elegant, with a small silver crescent moon that seemed to hold light the room didn't have. It was beautiful the way deep water is beautiful. And here's the thing Ethan would never admit. When he reached out, it wasn't greed. Something about that little moon felt familiar, like a word on the tip of your tongue, like a name you used to answer to. That first night, he fell asleep in the burgundy armchair by the cold fireplace, the necklace still tangled in his fingers. He'd meant to put it down. He kept not putting it down. And as the moon climbed over the sea, something began quiet as frost. Threads of silver light unwound from the little pendant, curling around his wrist, soft and patient, sinking into his skin like ink into paper. The house creaked once, almost gently, almost like a welcome. Morning came with the smell of salt and old wood. Ethan wrapped his hands around a chipped coffee cup and froze. His fingers looked wrong, slimmer, smoother, and something kept brushing his cheek, a strand of black hair, longer than it had any right to be. He stood very still, heart tapping out questions. His brain refused to answer. Jet lag, he decided. Bad light. 7 nights. Sell the house, back to the city. He repeated the plan like a prayer. The house said nothing. It didn't need to. The bakery in town smelled like heaven and looked like a postcard. Ethan just wanted bread and phone signal. What he got was a warm smile from the woman behind the counter and a sentence that stopped his blood. Ah, you must be from the Hart house. Margaret always said her niece would come to stay one day. Niece? He opened his mouth to correct her. Nothing came out, because for one strange weightless second, being expected somewhere felt better than being right. He found the diary on the 3rd day, in the round tower room, inside a desk that unlocked at his touch, like it recognized him. Worn leather, a brass clasp, and on the first page in ink, gone brown with age, a sentence that rearranged the world. My name was Edward once. If you're reading this, the house has already chosen you, and the moon has already begun. Ethan read it standing up, then sitting down, then out loud. Edward, Aunt Margaret, had been someone else too. Page after page, the story unfolded. a young man in a stiff collar and borrowed courage, arriving in 1952 with debts and a plan to sell. The same velvet box, the same silver moon. Margaret wrote about her first mornings, the fear, the strange relief, the town that simply made room for her. "The house doesn't trap you," she wrote. "It offers. It only ever takes people who were already disappearing." Ethan closed the diary. His hands were shaking. They were also, he noticed, not quite his hands anymore. The second night, he didn't fight it. He lay in the brass bed and watched moonlight pour through the lace curtains like slow silver water. The pendant on his chest rose and fell, glowing softly with each breath, and the change came on like a tide, unhurried, certain kind, black hair spilling long and dark across white linen, features settling into new lines like a sentence finally finding its grammar. Somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, the person in that bed stopped being Ethan. She woke to gulls and golden light, and for a long moment she just stood at the tall window, watching the sea in a shirt that hung off her shoulders like a borrowed sail. Then she said her own name, Elena. Her voice was soft and clear, and it didn't startle her. That was the terrifying part. It fit the way the house fit, the way the morning fit. Somewhere in the city there was a desk with her old name on it, and she couldn't, for the life of her, remember why it had ever mattered. The tower wardrobe had been locked since she arrived. That morning, it clicked open on its own. Inside, dresses, decades of them, carefully kept soft wool, sea green cotton, pearl buttons, every single one labeled with a small stitched monogram, E.H. Elena Hart. She ran her fingers along the fabric and understood. Margaret hadn't left her a house at all. She'd left her a wardrobe already her size, an entire life folded and waiting, like a letter addressed before she was even born. The town didn't blink. That was the miracle of it. She walked the cobbled street in the sage green dress, and the world simply agreed with her. "Morning, Elena," from the florist, away from the baker. Fresh flowers pressed into her hands for the Hart house. No one asked, no one stared in the city. Ethan had been surrounded by 8 million people and known by none of them. Here, a town of 800 had already made a place for her at the table. The math for once felt right. But the lawyer's letter had a final line, and it found her on the 6th evening. Should you leave before the 7th sunset, all returns as it was. The moon releases what it holds. All of it. The desk, the deadlines, the grey coat of a life that never fit. She stood at the edge of the cliff with the pendant warm against her chest and the sun sliding gold into the sea. One night left to choose. And the strangest thought kept circling back. They call it a way out. But out of what? And into what? The return ticket had lived in her coat pocket for 6 days, creased from being held and not used. On the last evening, she took it out one final time, city platform, a seat with her old name on it. Then she opened her fingers and let the wind decide. The ticket spun once, twice, and vanished over the cliff into the gold-lit water below. Elena watched it go and felt nothing fall away that she wanted back. Staying, it turns out, doesn't always mean giving up. Sometimes it means arriving. That night, the house settled around her like a held breath finally let go. She'd left the diary open on the walnut desk, meaning to write her own first page in the morning. But the house, as always, was one step ahead. Because at midnight, in the empty room, fresh ink began to bloom across the paper, unhurried, elegant, certain. The house is patient. It has already begun to choose the next one. Somewhere far away, in some grey office, a letter with a wax seal was being written. Maybe to someone like you,